Ouch. Okay. Again, I don't know that I'm broadcasting.
Yes, 2.
Now I am. Okay. Medium. Sometimes.
Yes, 2.
Oh no! I didn't realize this bottle has never been opened. And this bottle of what, you may ask? Okay, so this is the medium that I use for acrylics. I use several, but probably this one the most common. Liquitex glazing medium. Also gloss medium and varnish will work. Even a pouring medium will work. And I use it, of course, all of these pre-mixed. Too dark already. Now, again, if you want to imitate me to some degree, and in particular if you want to use these pencils, then yes, be ready. The pencils do smear with the when you glaze on top of them. So the main way to control that is just don't brush back and forth. Just brush one time if you can, as much as possible. Just brush once and leave it. Don't go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, like I'm doing right now. I'm kidding, mostly. Okay, well, that was quick. That would be a really short broadcast if I stop right there. Okay, so I'm not going to stop right there. I think if you guys weren't watching, I probably would. I would let that drip and dry for a while. In deference to you, my audience, I'm going to go ahead and paint now. All you nutty people, thank you, David Mercer. All you nutty people that want to imitate me, come on, come on. And of course, no, I honestly don't mean that. I mean, I would say, you know, because we're all so different. If you want to imitate me, you know, do one painting like me and then move on. Just adopt some of my tricks. Yeah, use some learns from my tricks, but you're not supposed to be me. Okay. Now I'm going to paint in white. Back in the day, I used to wait until the previous color layer was finished. Oh, it was dry before I would do white, because I would want my white to be clean. But as I've matured, I'll say, as I've matured in this technique in the world of painting, I've discovered, oh no, it's okay for me to paint white into wet. White into wet. However, and you may do that too, however, my students are always teaching me, what some of you guys will do with some of my comments. So here's what you are not to do. That doesn't mean that you put white paint on your brushes and then pick up the color that's on the canvas, smear them together, and proceed to paint opaque, in this case, opaque blue. No, that's right. That is not legal, so to speak. That is not the technique. So you can see that I'll zoom you in just a little bit closer. You can see that my wet white is picking up the wet blue, and I'm using that happenstance to my advantage. By the way, the white also picks up the pencil and creates a lovely or not so lovely gray, right? So you have to watch out for that as well. So in all these things, you use these, you don't go, wah, wah. I'm sorry, I'm sounding like I'm criticizing you. I'm not. But as a painter, you don't go, wah, my white paint is picking up my blue, or my white paint is picking up the pencil. Wah, wah. No. What you do is you work with it. You use that. I mean, this is what watercolor painters do all the time. That is the trick of watercolor painting. You have to use the, what's the word? The idiosyncrasies of watercolor. You have to work with them, in my opinion, not work against them. That's the beauty and the magic of watercolor. Well, same thing here. I'm recommending that, and what I'm trying to do is use the funny characteristics, if you will, of the medium to my advantage. Not fighting against it. So anyway, wet. Of course, this white is wet. Of course, I'm just picked up that wet white into wet blue is what I'm doing right now. Does that make sense? And what do you do about the gray smearing, the gray pencil smearing? What do you do about that? You paint. Here's the answer. I said it already earlier tonight. You paint with your eyes. Always, always, always. So you respond to what's happening on the canvas. You don't pretend, for instance, you don't pretend, well, he didn't say anything about the white paint picking up the gray the pencil and turning gray. No, of course not. I didn't have to say anything about that because your eyes are going to see that happening. You don't pretend that it's not happening. You don't pretend that you're not seeing it. Am I making sense? You don't say, well, here's painting by formula. Let me talk out loud, as if I were painting, copying. If I were a student copying Dan Nelson, copying the formula. Here's what I would say. Okay, I'd be saying, well, he said paint white onto the blue before it's dry. That's what he said, so that's what I'm doing. Forgive me for the mockery tone. I'm trying to be a good teacher here, and in the effort of trying to be a good teacher, I'm sounding a little bit mean. Forgive me, but I hope that you're getting the point. Do you see? That's painting by formula. Well, she said that we were supposed to, and that's what I did. Right. No. You never cut off your eyes. You paint by eye. You respond to what's going on. Let me give you one of the most common. Let me give you when I'm teaching. So this I've learned to try to mitigate against this. But let me just describe what it means to paint by formula and not to paint by eye. Okay. Many of my paintings, the first thing I put on the canvas is a big swash of warm yellow. Now today I didn't, by the way. I put some pretty cool yellow here. Wow. By the way, here, come on, just a minute. Wait a minute. Today I put on cool yellow, but that's not, I want to interrupt myself to say, look at this cloud that's appearing way back here, just over my canvas. Isn't that gorgeous? Gorgeous, love it. Anyway, so many of my paintings start with a warm yellow wash, right? Because I'm indicating warm sunlight. And I'll have students, this is when I'm painting, when I'm teaching live in class. Like I will be doing tomorrow, by the way, and hope to broadcast much of tomorrow's class. 4 or 5 hour class. I hope I can broadcast much of it. Okay, so I'll say, now do this yellow. And my yellow will be something like this. Real warm, real deep, orangish yellow. And thanks, David. And then I'll have students that will break out their cad yellow light or their lemon yellow or their Hansa yellow, any one of those, which is a freezing cold yellow color. And some of you who think that all yellows are warm, watch my video called Color Wheel, something, Color Wheel Reconsidered. Just go to Dan Nelson, go to YouTube and type in Dan the Art Man or Dan Nelson and look for color wheel re-examined or reconsidered or something like that. Anyway, those of you who think that all warms are yellow, all yellows are warm, and all reds are warm, and all blues are cold or cool. If you hold your mouth a certain way, those statements are true, but generally they're not true. Okay, back to I'm talking about painting by eye versus painting by formula. Okay, so I'm putting myself in an imaginary painting class where I say, okay, now class, the first thing I want you to put on your canvas is a glaze of yellow. And they can look with their eyeballs. Nobody comes to my painting. I have never yet had a blind painting student yet. So they all come able to see. And by the way, I would actually look forward to the challenge of trying to teach a painting class with all the students who are blind. I wouldn't shrink back from that challenge, but it's never happened yet. Anyway, and so I put my deep, what color? Yellow gold, mustard yellow, on my canvas. And then if I don't walk around, I've learned that I need to stop right then and walk around the whole classroom, because some people have already, they've put down an electric, I'm going to call it electric chartreuse. If you know your English real well, you know what color that is. That's that spring lime green. And their eyeballs, I swear their eyeballs have got to be telling them, that's not, I don't have the same color he has. But here's what they tell themselves, because they're not painting by eye, they're painting by formula. They'll say, well, he said, you hear me? Well, he said, and of course this has happened so many times now that I've learned not to say, not to just leave that hanging. You know, I don't just say anymore, do a yellow glaze. I explain myself. Anyway, but that's just one example among hundreds that I could give. By the way, I am erasing here a little bit. I talked about this earlier. I had some erroneous strokes on the painting, and I am doing what I talked about a little while ago, which is erasing my earlier erroneous marks. Again, but not because I was mad at them or anxious to get rid of them. Quite the contrary. I would like to have kept them, but they were downright confusing. It was really hard to figure out where my white pillars were supposed to be. So that's a little bit unusual for me to do that. Just wanted to point that out. So sometimes I do erase my mistakes, but it's not because that's the exception to the rule. It's not the rule, and it's because it was making it hard. I could hardly tell. Now I can see. Especially when there's a groom or bride right there. That's right. Now I can see where the pillars are. Bum 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 bum. Got it. So mission accomplished. I've got the same problem going up here. It's so messy up here, I can hardly tell what's what. So I am going to erase, so to speak, a little bit, which again, I don't like to do. That I can live with, because I can tell that the top one is wrong, erroneous. This I can't live with, because that is quite confusing. Does that make sense to you? And again, this line right here, also quite confusing. So I don't erase them, again, because I'm mad or embarrassed, or no, but I do erase them if I need to, so that I don't confuse myself in future layers. Okay, I think the bride in white is going to go here. Now, a little bit of white around these windows. Typically, when I paint, especially my first layer of white, well, no, every layer of white, remember, you're painting things that are light. That's light with an L. You're not painting things that are white with a W. just things that are light in value. You're going to come back over most of these. What I just did white, most of that, all of it's going to get covered up by various glazes on top of it. So I'm just looking for things that are light in value, like these little curved archways here. A little bit of white stucco, concrete, whatever in there. You know what? Time for me to take another picture because the light is gorgeous. Let me turn you guys around so you can see it. And I'm going to stop there. I'll be back with the next broadcast in just a few minutes. Thanks for watching.